Hi, John Sartin here with the Rio Grande Jewelry Tech team. Today I'm going to show you how to assemble the Durston Shear, and I'm also going to show you how to adjust the blades. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is actually unpack the shear. The shear is very heavy, so you need some friends to help you with this. You will need a Phillips head screwdriver. You're going to need a ratchet with an extension and a 1/2-inch socket. And like I said, you're going to need some people to help you out unloading this thing. This is about 160 pounds of dead weight. What comes in the package is the shear itself. And then we have a couple other items. So this is the length gauge. So this is the stop, or the length stop. This is your handle. This is the bar that the stop goes on. I'll show you that here in a bit. And this is actually the table that attaches to the front of the shear, and you align your piece of metal on to cut. Additionally, you're going to need some Allen wrenches. So you need a 6mm Allen wrench, a 4mm Allen wrench, and a 3mm Allen wrench. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we are going to attach the front platform. The screws are found in the bag that comes with it. I'm going to pull those screws out. And then we are going to attach these screws. There's 4 holes right here. So you want to line that up and attach the screws. Just like anything, if you have a little bit of trouble getting the screws started, you can always turn it counterclockwise and engage your threads, and then go ahead and turn it clockwise. Just want to make sure that you don't, as normal, just don't cross thread these screws. And we'll just tighten these down. Now whenever you do this, this plate should be either in line or slightly above this other dark plate right in here. That's where your blade actually starts. So let's go ahead and get this last one in. Okay, that does it for your front adjustment plate. Okay, so the next thing is actually, let's attach the handle. So the handle will just slide in to the top, and right here is actually a set screw that you'll use a 4mm Allen wrench and lock that into place. Okay, so the next thing we're going to install is actually the stop alignment. Don't even really know what to call this. I guess this is the bar. That bar goes into this hole, and we'll use a 6mm Allen wrench to lock that down. And then the stop slides onto that bar like so, and you'll tighten up this knob a bit. If you look here, you're going to see that there is a channel on this side of the bar, and that bolt will actually slide into that channel. So, and this is how you will set your length gauge. Okay, so now that we've got everything assembled, what we need to do next is actually mount this to a immovable object, basically. You want this mounted to a very, very sturdy table where it's not going to move around on you, especially whenever you're cutting thicker materials. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually use C-clamps, and I'm going to spin this around and clamp this to the edge of this work stand. This work stand might not look very big and heavy, but it is. It's filled with about 300 pounds of catalogs. This is very important that this is in a nice stable place, that it doesn't move around on you. You'll get way better cuts and safety requirements. It's put together, it is nice and sturdy on your bench, and now it's time to make a cut. I'm going to put my safety glasses on. Taking my sheet of metal and setting it on the table. This right here is really what this slide gauge is for, is so that you do have a 90-degree angle so that your cuts are nice and straight whenever you make them. All right. It also, obviously, if you're wanting longer pieces, you're going to have to slide this over as far as it'll go. If you are wanting to do a 12-inch piece, then you can actually take this off, and then you'll be able to do a cut of 12 inches. So let's do our first cut. I'm just going to set it in place, lock it down, slide my metal up and into the blade area, and then pull down. Okay, there's your first cut. Now the sliding gauge for your length or your depth, however you want to look at it, if you want to repeat a specific size, you can always set this to that size. So if you set this at 1 inch, then you are going to have approximately a 1-inch strip. And that is how you use your depth gauge. Okay, so we've done a successful cut, and now let's talk a little bit about troubleshooting. So over the use of this shear, and this shear, if you actually take care of it and it's used properly, will last you a lifetime. But there are a little few maintenance issues that you will need to do on this, and one of those is actually adjusting the blade. Several things can actually cause a blade to go out of adjustment. Sometimes even during shipping, blades can go out of adjustment just from being jostled around a lot. But more so, it's going to be cutting really thick material, or material that you shouldn't necessarily cut, will definitely either dull your blade or misalign your blades. And so it's a good thing to know exactly how to adjust your blades. All right, so we did a really nice cut initially. I went ahead and fiddled with it until I took the blades out of adjustment, and now it's not cutting all the way through. So you can see that it started to cut here, and then all of a sudden it's not cutting here. It's just bending the metal. All right. Another thing that is a good indicator that you might want to adjust your blades, or that your blades are dull, is if you look at this piece right here, it has got a little bend and kind of a rounded burr. All right, that's another it's another indicator that either your blade is dull, needs to be removed and resharpened, or it's out of adjustment. So I'm going to show you how to adjust this real quick. Now the blades on this machine, there is actually two blades, and I'll take this guard off here, and this exposes the blade. So here is your top blade, and here is your bottom blade. Now these blades actually have 4 cutting surfaces per blade. So these blades, you can, if one of the blades goes dull on you, you need to get it sharpened. Instead of sharpening, you can actually remove the blades, turn them around, and reinstall them, and you'll have fresh edges. Okay. For adjusting the blade, you will use these holes right here. So there is 4 holes on either side of the front, and then 4 holes on either side of the back. What these holes do is there is a little set screw in there, and if you come to the side of the machine, the set screws actually will push the blade either forward or backward, and this is how you're going to adjust the blade. Now there are, like I say, 2 sets of set screws. There's top screws and bottom screws. These have to be adjusted pretty precisely together, because if you put too much pressure on the set screws on the top, it's going to shift the blade towards the front a little bit or towards the rear, depending on which side you're working. Also with the set screws on the bottom, if you do that, then the blade's going to tilt this way or tilt that way. So they need to be adjusted. They need to be adjusted together and equally. So the way that that I adjust it, this is the way that I have done it for years now. I will actually bring the blades down until the full length of the blade meets each other. Okay? And if you notice, let me go ahead and open this back up. If you notice, there is a space that is narrower here than over here. So this is a guillotine shear, and if you've ever seen a French guillotine, the blade is actually tapered. So these blades do not go straight down and even. They kind of have a scissor action. All right, so let's go ahead and bring this down all the way until they have met, and you see no light between them. Then I will go ahead and I will start to adjust my set screws on either side. So this piece of metal, I know I cut, it started cutting here, but then it stopped cutting over here. That tells me that this side of the blade is too far towards the back and is not allowing the blades to come together like scissors to cut. So I will use the set screws on the back. And I'm just going to adjust these slowly. Now, you might have to loosen the set screws on the front to make the blade go forward. Okay? Typically, that's going to happen if you actually damage the blade by cutting something that you shouldn't have cut. So with this one, those set screws are, I know those set screws are loose, so I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to move the blade forward on the top just a little bit. The same, about a quarter turn on the other side, and on the bottom we're going to do the same thing. Now it looks like I'm turning this a lot here, but that's because I backed these set screws way off to get it to actually go out of adjustment. So just until I can start to feel it engage, touch the blade plate, and then just a little bit at a time. Now we test the blade. I'm going to lift it up. I'm going to put this in, and we're going to cut. Okay, there we go. Now our blades are back into adjustment. So now that I know that my blade is cutting, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that these set screws are not tight, but that they have actually just came to a dead stop against that plate. Now, if you tighten those screws too much, then the blade is going to bind. So it is it's kind of a little precise dance that you're going to have to play with, and adjusting one side and the other, front and back, until you get both the blade coming down together smoothly without any binding, and also to have a nice clean cut on your metal. That is the Durston Shear. We showed you how to put the shear together. We also showed you how to tell if your blade is out of adjustment, and we also showed you how to adjust your blade. If you take care of this shear will last you a lifetime. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate, give us a call. We're here to help.